Hello, everybody. So glad we could be together today as we do this on a kind of a hot, steamy day here in Missouri. And we escaped, as far as I can tell, we've escaped the hurricane winds and rain, which are going through the country now. I have a cousin named Jane, lives in Corpus Christi. And I got a little video. I tried to check up on them. Of course, they don't have electricity, or they didn't yesterday. And she's first cousin. And it's the sister of my other cousin, you that know my cousin Becky from Revived Church. It's her sister Jane, and they're down there. And her husband named Rocky. Well, they haven't had electricity, but fortunately, a neighbor has got a generator that I guess ran an extension cord over to their house. They got that, but anyway, it was so hot down there that I didn't know they had a sailboat, but they do. I found out. And they sent me a little video of the winds blowing, but then they died down and got calm. So they went and stayed on the sailboat that's close to their house. It has a generator and air conditioning. So that's people get inventive. I actually told them I would try to get a generator and send it to them if I needed to, because when they have storms like that, everybody buys up everything. And I thought, well, I could get one here, but I don't know what it costs to send it down there. Maybe a small one, huh? But anyway, they declined. They thought that was nice, but they're doing fine and on the boat now, unless their electricity is on. I think it was thousands and thousands of people without electricity yesterday, and we'll see about that. So anyway, we're good here and doing great. And I want to talk to you today about the author of confusion. That Satan is an author of confusion. What did I call it today? Let's see. I forgot what. Yeah, the God of confusion. And so confusion. We need to talk about it because think of all the people that are so confused today. There is a there is confusion over our land, our country, and so many areas. Just pick one. But there's no doubt about it that the most confusing part of all is who's going to be running for president on the Democratic ticket. You all know that. That's in the news constantly, day after day after day. I would think that former President Trump might enjoy that because he's not in the news so much. He is in the news, but President Biden is really in the news. I heard stuff yesterday about the doctors and how often, and he sees a neurologist once a year, and some people are calling for the results and blah blah. And Democrats don't want him to run. He's sticking right to it so far, and so there's confusion in the camp of the Democrats, and it kind of brings confusion over the whole country. But more than that, even just take an issue like abortion, which not my discussion today, but the confusion of some people just don't know what to think. They don't know how to think. And Satan confuses. He's the author of confusion. He's the God of confusion. By the way, Zion, do we have it so I can see people if they wanted to say hi to me? I'm still seeing myself. Do you need this? Yeah, that's okay. There we go. Thanks. Now I can see. Oh, there they are. Nathan and Julie and Nathan. Oh, and Jeremiah. And Jeremiah, I did get your text and moving ahead on that a little bit. I have some ideas on a couple of things, and I still need to think through a few other things. But anyway, good to see you, and glad to hear you're back from Poland and that you're doing some studying IT stuff. That's good. And Nathan, Brooke's going to send you a message, and Julie, I'll just say hi to you. I know you're there in Africa, and so glad we can see you. Oh, we got Dustin Strickland. Sorry, Dustin. I usually don't say last names. It's good to see you today, and so everybody coming on. Leslie, good. Let me back up again now that I've said hi to a few people. Anyway, I would say a spirit of confusion, but I don't know. That might be a little loose thinking. It's just Satan is the God of confusion, keeps us confused, and so I want to share with you about that. Jim and Diane, hey, you're with us today. So good. We got some folks today that I haven't said hi to for a while, and I want to tell some stories about how you stay. I stayed not confused about things, even today. Well, one of the better stories. Let's back up. in the early days, when I just had been in the full-time ministry a year or so, and we were traveling on the Greyhound bus, and we spent the money to have the engine rebuilt because we were going to Montana, a long way from here, and all the way up there, and spend weeks in Montana in this, traveling in the bus. And we got into Kansas, and we always remember Quinter, Kansas. That's on I-70. Hi, Beth. On I-70, Quinter, Kansas, and it's a little far out there, but it's not too not near what the trip was going to be. And it just um, overheated and burned up. And we just put it in the day, got it fixed the week or two before, a brand new rebuild, I guess, or engine, new engine, burned up. And what happened was the guy who did it was, maybe it was partly our fault, but in that we were trying to hurry, and the main hose from the radiator to the engine, all that was not replaced. Everything else was replaced, and they left that hose on there. Well, you got it. It was old. So we get out there in the heat of Kansas and the heat of the engine, and it blew. The other thing they forgot to do, there's a warning light, and he put the guy put the warning light backwards. Okay, so the warning light didn't go off. The engine blew up, and we're stuck on I-70, uh, and we don't have any money because we just spent all our money to get the engine rebuilt, and just enough for fuel to go, and so we're on the side of the road, and a little ways down, Quinter, Kansas, there was the Quinter Hotel Motel, and I think there was a Dairy Queen nearby. But anyway, we didn't have the money back then for two motel rooms. So us guys, we stayed on the bus on the side of the highway all night long, and just sat there in the bus. And the girls, all the ladies, they got one room and shared it all, so it was okay. And to what are we going to do? So we didn't know what to do. So I set my sights. I'm going to get on the telephone, and I'm going to start making calls. I'm going to start praying, of course, making calls, talking to people, all that kind of stuff. And so we finally talked to the guy who did the engine, and we settled with him to come on back out, drive out in his truck, back out to the highway, and work on it there. And I don't know if we had it. I think we may have had it towed to the hotel or some motel or someplace. I'm not sure. But anyway, it seemed like we got off of the highway. And so he agreed to do it. But there was missing a part he didn't have. So we had to call all around. Well, here's the funny part of the story. Kathy's old boyfriend, I won't say his name, but his dad owns a big truck diesel repair shop and sells them and stuff. So we we applied that relationship and finally got the part. And Vandy Haven, who goes to our church now, of course, is Kathy's brother-in-law. He put it in his car and drove all the way out to Quinter, Kansas, and put it in. Then we went, and then when we came back, we had to settle with the mechanic who's going to pay for this, because really it was kind of his fault. We finally settled 50-50. Okay, but that's not the story. That's setting you up for this story. The story is, when it was happening, and I'm making phone calls, and I'm calling people in our hometown and everywhere again to see parts, and anybody wanted to help, donate, or whatever, just letting people know. And all of a sudden, people are starting to say, well, Steve, maybe this is God telling you that you shouldn't be in this minute. You shouldn't be in full-time traveling ministry, and you shouldn't go to Montana, whatever. Maybe it's God telling you shouldn't. You've made a mistake. You should do something else with your life. It was all kinds of stuff. Maybe that. And what it would try to do, of course, obviously would bring confusion in, because I'm a very focused person in the will of God. And it could have brought a lot of confusion in. But I knew, once you decide it's the will of God, then it doesn't matter how hard it gets. It doesn't matter the circumstances. Doesn't matter how long it takes. This is the will of God. So then, so that settled it. I had never even quite. There was no confusion in me. And I said, no, sir. We are doing this, and we did it for almost 7 years. But when we decided to leave Smithton, same thing happened, because we stopped the services. The last service was in 1999 on Thanksgiving weekend. Done. And I knew God told us to go to Kansas City, move. And then everything went wrong. We had a building picked out, the former First Baptist Church, seats 1,200 people. We had the deal, we had the papers, and they balked on it at the very end when they found out that we were tongue talker revival people. They made the deal before they knew really who we were. It was just a business deal. But after they found out what kind of people we are, they pulled the plug on. We had nowhere to go. Pastor Eric already lived up here. So a lot of people of the church already lived up here because we were going. I still lived in Smithton. You talk about a confusing time for some people, and even reporters. Some reporters wrote, they were kind about it in a way, but still they insinuated like, well, maybe you made a mistake. Maybe you shouldn't have gone. And some of them said, and then other people said, just go back to Smithton. There, you got to understand this. There was that empty building sitting there, the empty church that we'd had revival in for 3.5 years, right? Hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people came. It's empty. We have nowhere to go up here. We have no land at that time, and didn't know what we were going to do. Do you see how confusion could have come in? But no, sir. I did make some calls for, wisdom. One of them was to the point. I may have gone and seen, I think I went down to Tulsa and spent time with Richard Roberts, Oral Roberts' son, when he was chancellor, principal, whatever president, whatever they call it, at ORU, Oral Roberts University. I did go to him, and I sat in his office, and it was quick. I mean, I've been there before, but he made it quick. He said, if it's God's will, you don't have a choice. It is the choice. You don't have a choice. You can't do something different if it's God's will. Do you think it's God's will? I said, yes. So that was it, and other people too. But it was, we tried building after building after building. One famous person that considered themselves a prophet prophesied, you're gonna take over somebody else's building, which is what we were going to do in the first place. And so we kept trying. We tried north of the river. I went to the city council of Northtown, north of the river here, and we went to them, and we had a building, and they passed all the things for us to get it, but it just wasn't the right one. Well, right over here, the funny thing about it, where one of the International House of Prayer buildings, right on 71 Highway, or it's 49 Interstate now, you can go by and see their sign on this. We tried to get that building, and we actually were in the building with lumber on the ground of the floor of it, building the platform, when we were told that Kmart didn't own it. They leased it from somebody, and then they were going to sublease it to us. And all they come and show us like, hey, Kmart fooled you. You can't do this. There's a clause in the contract that they cannot sublet to a non-for-profit corporation or a church. And it was in there, but they had marked it out or something. And I don't know how our attorneys didn't see that. But anyway, we're in there with the lumber on the ground. And in fact, that same day, Suzanne Hinn, Benny Hinn's wife, had come to town, and she drove there and picked Kathy and I up, and we were going to talk and go see somebody together. And so I was actually in the car with her. I don't remember who was driving. Kathy and I in the back seat. She's the front seat, and somebody else was driving. And I got the phone call that says, you cannot have this building. That Kmart cannot sublease to you. We're out. And we already had lumber and everything. We're out. We have nowhere to go again. And people started saying, maybe you made a mistake. Maybe you shouldn't have left Smithton. Maybe you should go back to Smithton. Even when, a lot of people don't know this one, even when we put the tent up, okay, and it's 1,000-seat tent, and people were coming. Now we bought our property. We did buy after we couldn't find a building anywhere. And all the stuff that could have been confusing. But I'm telling you, myself and those on, with me on this, I never doubted once. I never doubted, not one single bit. And I'm still kind of like that today. So we were in the tent though by now, and we bought the property. We had it. Remember the story? We had 18 horses on it, and they said, you can be on this property and start in 30 days. So yay, we did it. And then they called me on that one and said, you can't go on the property for 90 days. I said, why not? They said, well, the people who live there, they signed that they would be off in 30 days if it ever sold. But the horses got 90 days. The horses get 90 days. So the people were gone and the horses were there. So they said, but I'll tell you what, if you can find a home for these 18 horses, then it's okay. They'll have a home. Then you can come on the property. So I had to do that too. Fine. That was fun to go. I bought hay. I bought room and board for all kinds of horses. So anything I could do, but we did it. Well, anyway, the day that my granddaughter was born, Allison, in the hospital here, my first grandchild, we were so excited. You go to the hospital, you're looking at the baby, and you're seeing everybody's happy. I get another phone call. And at that time, we already had laid down the entire concrete for the building we're in now. That's a big piece of concrete, you that know us. The foyer clear to the back, big piece of concrete. It was already done, professionally done. We got a call that day. I'm looking at my new grandbaby, and they said, you cannot build. The city, Kansas City, said, we will not allow you to build on that concrete. You're done, because you have to have an easement, you have to have a park, and you have to have something else. I forgot what. 3 things. So I said, but they already approved it. And as you know, there is a park across the street, and there is an easement by the pond you might not know about. And I don't remember what the other one was. But anyway, so the person who called me was sitting downtown, and I talked to him on the phone. I'm sitting there looking at the baby. Now I'm going, what? Now we're finished again, right? Nope. So here's what I want you to do. I said, the first I prayed and we prayed. And I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go sit outside that office where they just said you can't do it, because he was down there. I said, sit down and watch when he leaves the room or goes off to the side, any place. Just walk in to the main, because there was a main guy. Walk into the main guy's office. Just walk in there and tell him what we were told. So that was it. And our guy, did that and walked in there and said, this is what they told us we can't build on. He said, forget about that guy here. And he signed it instantly. Within 1 hour, we were back in business. I got many stories like that. Right now, we're in the position the pandemic comes, and there were other things that have happened to try to ruin our reputation. Some of you know about that, and we're winning that, but working and winning. But nevertheless, things happen, but we're looking at the state of the country, and we're looking to move from the pandemic where people got lost in it and stopped coming, or they're watching from home. It's just the changes, and letting ourselves grow up. And I'm looking towards a fresh move of God. And I know it can be confusing if it's, some people think we need it right now, right now. And I get it. I want it right now too. But, timing is so important, just like all the other things. So rather than me get confused, like, what are we going to do? And where is it? And am I making a mistake? Should it be now? Nope. We'll get to where God wants us. Benita and Paula, hi. We'll get to where God wants us, but we do it in His timing. Make sure the right people are there at the right time. Because when all of these things happen, I look back now and see timing was everything. Just like when they said we couldn't build on that concrete, all I had to do is get the right timing. That guy leave, you slip into the big guy's office. Timing, and so everything is going to work out. But we're still in some training too, of some of the people in our church that haven't experienced God, and if they were asked to live up to the level that you live in the presence of God in revival, they're not ready. They would probably falter. They would get distracted. Maybe they'd say, this is too much. So we just wait for God's timing and be at peace, because Satan is the god of confusion. But there's no confusion in me. I know where we're going. Now, what level that's going to be? Is it going to be city, world? Are we going to be just a revival church ourselves and influence other churches? That would be great. Even if crowds didn't come, with just us, I would be so happy. But are we going to move to another level at Revive Church? Yes, sir, we are. And in my head, I know it, just like when I was told we're going to move to Kansas City, and all the battles and all the pieces and everything that had to fit together. We took us 6 months just to get the property because of all the confusion that was trying to get in and ruin it for us. So, are we going to get there? Yeah. Okay. So now let's get to the scripture here. I have 1 Corinthians 14. See what time it is. 1 Corinthians 14, 33. I can't remember exactly. I wrote it down here, which version this is, but God is not the God of disorder or confusion, and but of peace. And so God has an order, and we see that in the book of Isaiah, I think 14, where the Lucifer, that's who we think we're talking about there, wants to sit on a higher place than he was given. He was like an archangel, and we have Michael, Gabriel, and Lucifer. So when he was thrown out of heaven, what did he do? He took 1/3 of the angels with him because he was the archangel over 1/3, convinced them to go with him. So now we just had two. We got Gabriel and Michael. But there was a throne, and he said, I want to ascend. I want to sit on that throne. Well, that would be disorder. And he brought confusion in and took the angels with him. And of course, he was then thrown out of heaven. So God is not the author. But when it's interesting, anyway, God is at the top, and his son Jesus, and then he's got the angels and archangels and regular angels, and it goes filters down, and there's all kinds of creatures in heaven, filtering down. And it's interesting, though, when Satan then is thrown out and he comes to the earth, that he creates his own order. He's a God of disorder. He's a God of confusion, but he's also smart enough to set up a hierarchy where it's not confusing, at least to him. He confuses us, so he's at the top. And then we have some of these titles: principalities and powers and darkness and all that. All those things. And he's like like a pyramid. It goes down until we get to the bottom where it's just demons that just tormentors and like that. And so he set up an order himself, almost like God's, only he just wanted to be at the top. So, but God is not the God of disorder, but of peace. So as we look at our country and we see the politics and particularly right now in the Democratic Party, who's going to run for president, it's just back and forth, up and down, sideways. That's not God doing that. I'm not even going to say what I think. It doesn't matter what I think. If they ask my opinion, I'll tell them. But it doesn't matter what I think. They're going to do what they think. But you can feel the confusion over our country, and you feel the confusion like people are confused over our education policies. So the Department of Education is going completely into thing where they want to teach not morality, we want to teach ethics and gender, all that stuff. And then there's others that say we got to get back to regular education. That fight, but there's people in the middle, totally confused. They don't know what to do, who to follow. There's politically, people are confused. Hi, Jacob. Brooke just told me that you're in Hawaii. Is that right? How do you have time to listen to me? Maybe you're back. I don't think so. I think maybe you're still there. But anyway, good to see you on here. And I mentioned a minute ago, abortion. Can you imagine? There's people, they don't know what to think. There's people that there's people for it. And then there's the people in the middle, totally confused. And so the list goes on. Some people, they don't know what should do. We need more police, less police, defund the police. You know what I'm saying? And, oh, Jacob's saying it's still early morning there, so he hasn't got out and work, and he's not working on his tan yet. So today, so anyway, we could all be jealous of that, right? And he's in Hawaii. Well, good for you. So you see this. So in your own life, there should be no confusion. Confusion is common, though. People that don't know. I don't know what the will of God is. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life. I don't know why I'm here. In fact, I'm going to be working on a sermon soon for this coming Sunday. You that are in our church, or you that do tune in on streaming, I think called "Why Am I Here?" Why am I here? To get rid of confusion. And there's all kinds of Christians say why you're here. You're here to get people saved. You're here to feed the poor, right? You're here to be an emissary to people in troubled times. Why are we here? And it may surprise you. It may not. You that know me better might not be surprised. But I'm going to try to do that to get all that confusion of we have a purpose as Christians, and we can be involved in politics. We can have political ideas. We have some pastors are stepping up and speaking out things, and others are still preaching about our feelings. But I want to just narrow that down and help you. So I guess I'm in that mode because I'm hoping to preach on that. Um, and then we have this one that says at almost at the very end of the book of Judges. I wrote it down. 21 says, "In those days there was no king. Everyone did what was right in their own eyes." And that's what we have today, isn't it? Everyone did what was right in their own eyes. Now, some people think that, "Oh, that sounds great. I want to just do whatever I want to do." But they don't understand. Do you understand the stress when there's no guidelines in your life, when there's no boundaries, when there's no, in our case, Bible to help you and the Holy Spirit to help you? Do you know how much stress that is? I try to tell people, if you're raising kids, like Jacob's got a new baby, maybe you're holding the baby right now, who knows? And you got kids, understand what has happened in our country, that parenting has been turned over to phones, internet, movies, the media type thing. And so hi Thora. And so what happens is the kids on up with no guidance at all and no framework and no church many times. And then school's a crazy place for them, trying to tell them what's what. The stress on kids, because they are making all of the decisions themselves. They're doing what is right in their own eyes. So even teenagers, of course, so they go on their phone and they have to decide, should I watch this? Should I not watch this? Is this good? Is this bad? Is this lifestyle good? Is that lifestyle bad? Because there's no guidance for them. There's no Bible. There's no parenting. And so the stress of doing what is because kids want to do what's right, but they do what's right in their own eyes. So they have to make all the decisions, what to watch. Is it good? Is it bad? How long? What does this mean? Is this bad for me? Is this good for me? All of the decisions are being made without parents today. And I understand parents are busy. Most of the time, both work. I get it. It's a difficult place to be. Nevertheless, it can be done. And I know when we were in the height of two revivals, we had Brooke was here, and the second one, Nicole was here. She's a little older, but Brooke was here, and she was young. She was only 5 years old when she went through the whole Smithton outpouring. Did you know that? Uh, and and so she got these boundaries in her, but think how busy I was when you've got thousands and thousands coming, and you're traveling. You're doing 5 services a week, and then you're traveling every other week to the places in the world and coming back. Pretty hectic, but always made time to be a parent to her, or grandparent to her. And so the stress on kids today, if you haven't been around kids, if you haven't talked to a school teacher, I have recently, many of them who teach not our school, not our private school, thank God for it, but public school. The stress. I talked to a teacher, went and bought a pair of shoes. Well, actually, I went and bought, rambling a little bit now. I went and bought a pair of shoes for Kathy. I drove her over there. I think we took the cats to the vet. And by the way, Charco's doing great still. And then she said, "You need to buy some shoes." And I didn't want to take the time. But it got us in there, and we met a lady who's a teacher in public school, and she's considering quitting next year. She already signed her contract this year. She wants out. And she described what it was like teaching in public school today, and the confusion and the pressure, the emotions, the stress that are on little children. They have to have time out. They have to have rooms for kids who are overstressed. Just put them in the stress room or whatever it is. It's really, really bad. All right. So the point being what? God is not the author of confusion or disorder. So if you're starting to get confused, get with the Lord, set the boundaries, know what your place is. And if God is, and the main thing, you're going to serve God the rest of your life. And you're going to serve with whatever abilities you have. Don't worry if you think, well, I should be in another country. I'm not being you. Just relax. Serve the Lord. He'll let you know what you're supposed to do. And you got plenty of time. You got your whole life to accomplish and finish this race. All right? So be at peace and let God be God. And thanks for visiting with me. I went long. I told stories. Is that all right, Zion? Yeah, had a little fun telling stories today. I got plenty of stories. So